Good afternoon guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're at Upminster Windmill in the London Borough of Havering, and what a glorious windmill it is. It's only down the road from me and it's fantastic. I've been coming down here for the past few days hoping there's a bit of wind so I could show you an effect that I wanted to get. And this effect is showing movement within the photo of the fantail at the back of the windmill. And the fantail is the part what is moving. You may see it moving in the video, and it's got love hearts on it. Now unfortunately this windmill wasn't moving enough. It's probably spinning like hell behind me now, but it wasn't moving enough. It spins for a little bit, stops, and then spins again. So because of this light, it's quite bright, and the windmill is quite bright because it's white. It's drawing in a load of light down through my aperture into the camera on the sensor. But I want it all to be darkened down, and the reason for that is that I need a longer shutter speed. Unfortunately with this light, as soon as you take a shot, it's click, it's taken the shot. But what I did do is this 5D Mark III can go down to ISO 50, so I bring the ISO right down so I'm getting less light going onto the sensor. The higher the ISO, the more light that gets drawn into the sensor. And also with my lens, it starts at f4 to f22. It's a 24 by 105mm Canon lens, one of my go-to lenses. Absolutely love it. But what you want to do is that if you put it on f4, it widens the aperture and pulls in as much light as it can. I don't want that, I want the opposite. So I want it on f22, and that makes the aperture go really small and doesn't draw in as much light. But unfortunately, because of the light, it still isn't giving me enough shutter speed, a longer shutter speed. It was giving me 0.7 of a second. So that basically it's not long enough, and the reason for that is the fantail moves a little bit, stops, and then moves again. And because it's not long enough, it's not showing that movement. So what you can do is you can use filters. I've got a fader ND filter here that I sometimes use, but again the light's quite strong. It's not strong, but the light's strong on the windmill because it's very white, and it draws the light a bit more. And the fader didn't really work. It didn't give me enough. It only gave me about 2 seconds, and it still wasn't enough because the fantail would move 1 minute, stop, and then move again. So what I did use is I used a 10-stop filter. Now how you use these is you've got an adapter that screws on the front of the lens, and this 10-stop ND filter slots in there. And what that does is it darkens everything down through the aperture onto the sensor, and it gives you a longer shutter speed. And I think the shutter speed I was getting about 20 seconds, and at one point that fantail just stopped still. But because the shutter is open for 20 seconds, it gives an opportunity for it to, it won't get the movement, but then once it moves again, it catches it because the shutter speed's open for so long. It's a wonderful thing to use. I mean, you can use it in seasides around rocks and get this creamy movement over the rocks from the water. They're absolutely fantastic to use. But you also got to bear in mind, you've got to sort out the white balance. And the way you sort out the white balance for these ND filters, the way I sort them out, is it was quite ideal because the stones leading up towards the windmill, they're all grey. They're all grey. So I put the ND filter on the end. I put the ISO to the most that it could do on this camera, which I think was 256,000. I put my aperture, the f-stop down to f4, and I then focused on, didn't focus on, manual focused onto the stones. But what you got to bear in mind as well is you don't want the stones in focus, you want them blurred. So you blur it manually, take the photo. And then in camera, you go to custom white balance, you choose that photo, OK it, and then you go into white balance onto the back of the camera, and you choose custom white balance. and then that's when you choose that photo, and that gives you round about the correct white balance for the shot that you take, because it does mess up the colours of the photo when taken without doing custom white balance. But it's an amazing thing to do. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a photo up now, and it'll show you the movement that I've got from darkening everything down and the fantail moving, and then it stopped for a little while and moved again. But that's the effect it got. I hope you like that photo. Also, what I've done is that I don't really like the fencing down the bottom. If you look at the bottom, there's a load of fencing. So I took another shot right down low with the ND filter, and you can see a slight movement from the grass and the fantail at the back. Now I'll put this photo up as well, and hopefully you like that photo, and let me know what you think. Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the one that's lit with the path leading up to the windmill, or do you prefer the one where the grass is a little bit moving and we're down low? I'm also going to add a few other photos towards the end, and I hope you enjoy them. So I thank you for listening to me, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you. Goodbye.